Hi, this is Will Butler, and you're listening to 91.3 WYEP.
You're listening to 91.3 WYEP. It's time for Coffeehouse Conversations. My name's Adam Kukic. Happy to be here with you as your host. And you just heard from Will Butler. His most recent work is a solo album entitled Policy. Comes out on Tuesday, and we just heard the track Anna. And I want to thank Will for taking the time out of his schedule to join us today and participate as guest DJ for Coffeehouse Conversations. So, Will, thank you for being here.
Oh, anytime.
So, for those in our listening audience who aren't familiar with your solo work yet, they probably are familiar with a couple of your projects that you've had leading up to now. Would you mind giving us sort of a Cliff Notes version of your career to date, as as you see it?
Yeah, I've played in the Arcade Fire for 10-ish years. My brother started it many moons ago. So I've been in and out. I moved up to Montreal in 2003 for a minute to start recording Funeral, and then I moved up to Montreal in 2005 to really do that thing. And so I've been playing rock and roll for the last 10 years.
At 32 years of life, you have a wife, you have a young son, you have a Grammy, and you have an Oscar nomination in your bag. What?
And we snagged one of the modern Emmys for the Reflector video. So It's like a best something or other, interactive something or other. Anyway, we have an Emmy.
Well, is there any possibility down the line of a musical? Get that Tony nod in there, huh?
I mean, Cyndi Lauper did it. Anything Cyndi does is fine.
You're listening to the Coffeehouse on 91.3 WYEP. It's Coffeehouse Conversations. My name's Adam Kukic. Happy to be here with you as your host, and joined today by Will Butler, and he's joining us today by phone. So, Will, what could you tell us about your selection of Smokey Robinson and the Miracles, Way Over There?
Motown put out, I'm thinking maybe 10 years ago, Motown put out all of their singles, like just their whole catalog of every single release they ever put out. And this was one of the things that jumped out. I was like, oh, there's something really beautiful about this one. If you're talking about American music at all, you have to do something from Motown. I mean, you possibly have to do all things from Motown. But this one was, I think it was their first single. It just caught my ear a long time ago.
All right, great. Well, why don't we give a listen to Smokey Robinson and the Miracles, Way Over There, a selection of Will Butler. You're listening to the Coffeehouse on 91.3 WYEP. You're listening to 91.3 WYEP's The Coffeehouse. It's Coffeehouse Conversations. My name's Adam Kukic. Happy to be here with you as your host, and joined today by Will Butler. And we just heard from the Au Pairs, the track Monogamy. Will, thank you for being here and for choosing such a wide range of music for us to listen to today. How did you find out about the Au Pairs, and what about this track made you want to play it today? I
found out about the Au Pairs. I worked at a really great college radio station in college, WNUR at Northwestern, and they've got a really, really beautiful stacks in the back. They've got kind of everything from the 70s to the present, a lot of it on vinyl or on 45. They had a really great post-punk selection. And I was there in the early 2000s when post-punk was making a real big comeback. And there's 3 or 4 amazing British post-punk bands fronted by women, and the Au Pairs is one of them. There's a few that are just really rocking. And this actually was, I think it came from a John Peel session, and it's a really vibrant session. There's a couple other tracks from that session that are just like knock you off your feet. You're like, okay, that's a rock and roll band.
You're listening to the Coffeehouse on 91.3 WYEP. It's Coffeehouse Conversations. My name's Adam Kukic, joined today by Will Butler. Your next track that we have lined up is The Violent Femmes. What can you tell us about your selection, I Held Her in My Arms? And you specified which version you wanted to.
I mean, it's hard to call the Violent Femmes underappreciated because everybody loves them, but they're kind of underappreciated, weirdly. I mean, just everything after the first album, there's some really amazing stuff after that first album, which is essentially perfect. And this song kind of sounds like Bruce Springsteen, but like if he was just a little more unhinged. It's like a little more broken Bruce Springsteen. The live version is a little more peppy. It's a little growlier than the album version, though the album version is quite great. The album version is produced by Jerry Harrison of the Talking Heads and of everything, and it's great. But the live version has a little something, goes a little more haywire. But yeah, I love a lot of the later Femme stuff. Their second and third albums, and they have a lot of amazing songs that aren't off the first one.
Why don't we give a listen to the Violent Femmes? I Held Her in My Arms. You're listening to the Coffeehouse on 91.3 WYEP. It's Coffeehouse Conversations. My name's Adam Kukic, joined today by Will Butler. Will Butler has an Oscar nomination behind him, has a Grammy Award, also won an Emmy. He's done work on the film Her, directed by Spike Jonze, and also, of course, of Arcade Fire. So for your solo debut, it's entitled Policy. If we're looking at a continuum, and on one end we have like fun, letting off some steam, and on the other end of the spectrum is sort of a serious statement. This is me. Where does this album fall?
All the way to the left and all the way to the right on the dial.
In the press release for Policy, it clearly states Policy is American music. Why is that so important to state?
Just in the interest of journalistic accuracy. I was born in California. I grew up in Texas. I lived in New England. I went to school in Chicago. It's just my heritage is America and her music.
Might it also be because of the fact that Arcade Fire is kind of associated more with Canada, and granted, you and Win from the States, is this maybe to inform us that, hey, we are American?
Well, I am American, but yeah, it is accurate to say Arcade Fire is a Canadian band, and it is also accurate to say that I am American.
Okay. Looking at the lineup, you do most of this album on your own, but you do have one. Your drummer, though, is from Arcade Fire. Yeah, Jeremy Guerra. I've played music with Jeremy for 10 years, so we're a pretty good rhythm section. Like we're pretty intuitive with each other. We played a lot of music, a lot of different kinds of music together. I love playing with him, and then every once in a while I'll see a video and I'll be like, whoa, he is a very good drummer. He is as good a rock and roll drummer as any drummer that has ever been in a band. And we're friends. We've been in the band together for 10 years. So if we close out with one more selection from Policy, what song would you suggest us listening to, and could you tell us a little something about it? I guess Witness. Yeah, Witness is fairly 50s. Fairly 50s, fairly Cyndi Lauper rock and roll, and it is neither crocodile rock nor is it Great Balls of Fire, but it has a little something to it. Yeah, it closes out the album. All right, and what are we bearing witness to? This song evolved over time. It kind of feels like someone living in a time and seeing really awful things happening and saying, you know what, you deal with that. I don't want to deal with it. I see that something really awful is happening, but whoa, that's too intense. Like, you take care of it, because, like, geez Louise, like, I can't deal with that. Are you kidding me? I'm out of here. Is that your son I hear in the background? It is. Is this his radio debut? It's his radio debut. Well, thank you for participating in Coffeehouse Conversations, Will. Great to have you call in for this. Yeah, my pleasure. You're listening to the Coffeehouse on 91.3 WYEP. It's Coffeehouse Conversations. If there was an artist or a group that you haven't seen for some reason that, is still at least living, they don't necessarily have to be touring, who do you wish you get the opportunity to see before it's too late? I mean, I've actually already seen her, but Grimes opened for the Arcade Fire, but I'd love to see Grimes in her own element doing her own show. And an artist or a group no longer with us that you wish you had the opportunity to see? I wish I'd seen The Clash back in the day. Mm-hmm. Rumor has it they were pretty good. All right. An artist that you would like to potentially collaborate with one day? Let me think about that. I don't know that anything fruitful would come out of it, but I'd love to be in the studio with the Kraftwerk guys just because it'd be a real master class in technology. And final question for you. Either your go-to karaoke song if forced into a karaoke setting, or just a song that you'd maybe one day like to cover? My son is really into the new Taylor Swift album, so all the new Taylor Swift hits
are always in my head and my heart.
Is there a particular Taylor Swift song that you, besides Alvin, that you're like, yeah, that one, I got to admit, I kind of like it?
Oh, I genuinely like Shake It Off. I think it's great.
All right.